Division property of exponents. As you will see on the right, I have left up our knowledge from the last lesson of multiplication property of exponents. We used Dillon's not patented test-taking technique of substituting letters, like the letter B or Y, for numbers, and proving to ourselves, before we even had to type into our assignment, that if we have the same number of the base, in this case 2, and we're multiplying the numbers together, then what we end up doing is adding the exponents, because 9 plus 3 is 12, and you'll see you get the same answer. But if we end up having a number like 2 raised to a power, and then we raise that whole number to another power, that's the same as multiplying our exponents together, because 4 times 5 is 20. So when we dive into division property of exponents today, we're going to think about the opposite of what we just did. So with number 1, v to the 8th and v to the 2nd, we know that when we were multiplying them together, we added the exponents. So then if we're dividing our letters/numbers together, that means that we are, did you say it? Do you know it? Well, I'm not going to stop my non-patented test-taking strategy. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to say, what's 2 to the 8th over 2 to the 2nd? Well, I chose that because I could divide these numbers. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So is that the same thing as 2 to the 4th? No. What if oh yeah, the opposite of adding is subtracting. 8 minus 2 is 6. And look, the 64s match. I didn't even get rid of this confusing 16 in between. So all I have to do is take my exponent on top and subtract it to the bottom. So this is v to the 6th power, because 8 minus 2 is 6. Number 2 features a similar problem, but now you'll notice that we have a larger number of exponent on the bottom. I have y to the 10th on bottom and y to the 8th on top. That means that when I subtract, because it always needs to be top minus bottom, I'll get a negative number. Oh no, what do I do with a negative exponent? Especially because it straight up tells me, write an exact simplified answer in terms of positive exponents. Well, let's remember from last assignment what to do. We click our fraction button, and then we need to put a 1 on top. What do we put on bottom? Well, if I got 2, instead of putting y to the negative 2, I put y to the positive 2. You can also think of it like this. If I was to cancel this top and bottom, this numerator and denominator, and get rid of y to the 8th on both sides, on top, y to the 8th divided by y to the 8th, anything divided by itself is just 1. It all cancels. And on bottom, if I get rid of 8 out of 10 of my y's, I still just have 2 left. So if you want to think about it like that instead of subtracting, you can also do that. The greater number of y's left over will always go on the side of your fraction that's greater. So in this case, it went on the bottom because 10 was on the bottom. If you haven't already, not only make sure your Desmos calculator is up, but also make sure your simplifying fractions calculator is up. We've been using this throughout the year as we are away from our yellow TI-84 graphing calculators that I love and miss so much. Hopefully there will be a time when we're back with them, and maybe we are. And if so, I will have separately taught you in class today how to do the calculator version of this, because it's also good to know. But for right now, I'm just going to type in my numbers, ignoring the letters. So ignoring the z to the 5th and z to the 9th, I'm just going to type in 9 over 6 and see what that reduces to. So 9 over 6 reduces to 1.5, but what we really want is this 3 halves here. So ignore your mixed fraction and go to your improper one, because we want to leave it as 3 over 2, and then we can afterwards go to our z's. I've got 9 z's up top, zz top. I have 5 z's on bottom. 9 minus 5 is 4, but I can also think there are more z's on top, so I'm going to put the z on top. And then if I cancel 5 from the bottom, they're all gone. All that's left is just my 2. And on top, if I got rid of 5 z's, I have 4 remaining. You have a choice on this one of whether you want to put the z to the 4th or whatever your letter ends up being on top, or like it says here, whether you want to put it in front of the fraction. Both answers will be acceptable. 4, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to type in my fraction to reduce, 24 over 18. And if you're really good at mentally reducing, like you just know that 6 goes into these and it's 4/3, like I can look at it, feel free to do that. But if not, no worries. Just make sure you use, again, the improper version, not the mixed. One of the rare times in math you will ever be told that. And then look, I have x to the 9th on bottom, x to the 2nd on top. So now my x's are going to go on bottom because they're larger. And if I get rid of 2 from each side, I have 7 left because 9 minus 2 is 7. You will not get it right if you put the x to the 7th in front this time. It has to go on the bottom. And if you need more time, pause right now. Go back if you need to. Okay. Now we ask ourselves, what in the heck do we do when there's a negative exponent on bottom? There's a letter. I don't know, but I can substitute a letter for a number and go back to Dylan's old test-taking strategy. If I have 2 to the negative 4. So that's 16. And if I have 2 to the negative 4, I know that that's this nasty decimal. 2 to the positive 4. Oh, cool. So you're telling me all I got to do to simplify this whole thing is just rewrite the bottom without the exponent? Okay. I mean, without the negative? I can write it with just a 4, and that's it. So whatever you have on the bottom, rewrite it and just get rid of the negative. And you're done. No 1, no fraction, no nothing. Number 6, we learned last assignment, if I type in any number, letter, anything to the 0 power, it's always, I heard it across town, you said it, 1. And if you wanted a full mini lesson on that, you could tune in, if you haven't already, to the multiplication property of exponents lesson I did last time. All right, 5 to the 3 over 5 to the 4th. I can subtract my exponents. 3 minus 4. Negative 1. So I've got 5 to the negative first power. Again, if I do that, because it's a negative power, it's going to give me a decimal. How do I turn it into a positive? Oh yeah, I need to put a 1 on top. 5 to the first power. Well, it's really boring to type in, but it's just 5. So 1 over 5. If you don't have a negative exponent, congratulations. You lucked out. You don't even have to worry about converting anything. Just type in whatever your calculator gives you. All right, the final one. Let's go back to Dylan's patented test-taking strategy here. All right, 7 over 4 to the negative 3. Oh no, it's a decimal! Well, check it out. First, if I was to flip my fraction, instead of 7 over 4, it's 4 over 7 to the positive 3, I get this decimal. But I don't want a decimal. I want a fraction. So here's what you're going to need to do for this. You're going to need to separately figure out what 4 to the third is, and then separately figure out what 7 to the third is. 64 out of 243. 4 to the third, 7 to the third. Now I could check in my calculator to see if that reduces. 64 out of 343. Pretty sure it doesn't, but maybe it does. Nope, it's in simplest form. And then you write that. Let me check on this one because it's so ugly. Let's just make sure the decimal doesn't work. This is another one where if we had our graphing calculator in class, we wouldn't have to do all this conversion and find a website that does things. You would just be able to get it spit out. Yeah, it doesn't like that. It wants the 64 over 343. All right, so let me show you one more in case that explanation was too fast. So instead of 2 over 5, I'm going to flip it. I'm going to do 5 out of 2. So 5 to the 5th power over 2 to the 5th power. 5 over 2. 5, 2 to the 5th power. 3125 over 32. I guess I could check if that reduces. What an ugly improper fraction. Oh, what? Whoops. Wrong button. 3125 over. Calculate, not clear. Nope. It's still, I typed it incorrectly, yeah. It's still just the same thing. Gross. So we want to type that in 3125 over 32. And there we go. 8 for 8. The double Wendy's 4 for 4. Done and done. Wendy's, if you're listening out there and you want to sponsor my videos, please give me some free 4 for 4s. I am in whenever you want to. Let's go. As always, this has been Class Away from Class. Have an absolutely wonderful day. Until next time, best wishes. This has been Dylan's Class.